It's the morning of June 20th, 2026. Calvin Castine driving, and Judy Castine's got the camera. We're at the Champlain Center's shopping center. If you take a look at the gathering here, soon we'll be seeing all these vehicles and more heading toward the honor flight takeoff at the old base oval. There are literally hundreds of motorcycles here, dozens of emergency vehicles, from fire departments to EMS to police of all sorts, city, county, state, and federal. And they'll be heading for the old base oval to get a shot of we'll get there to get ahead of them to get a shot of them entering and escorting for the North Country Honor Flight takeoff today. It is now 6:23 a.m. We're at the old base oval, and North Country Honor Flight, that's his 70 some odd, we'll find out today exactly, 73, 74. There are two flights 4 times a year, and today, and this day before Father's Day, we're gathering here to send out 2 more flights. The sirens have been blaring since we arrived here, so apparently they took off shortly after we left the Champlain Center's area. We're going to set up here underneath this spruce tree, and folks have been here since early in the morning, well before sunrise, even in the last day of spring here. The honor flight is to send veterans to Washington, D.C. to look at the monuments there. It started with the need to send World War II veterans. There's still one or two World War II veterans hanging around, but they are over 100 years old. War ended in 1945, which was 81 years ago. So if you were 18 in 1945, you're 99 years old right now. So the number of those veterans has diminished over the years since this honor flight started. The Korean veterans are also right behind them, and of course now we're mainly in an era of Vietnam veterans, but any veteran, if there are medical reasons that they need to, Morning Dave, if there's medical reasons where they need to go early, they will accommodate them. We've sent several youngish veterans who had health problems, and one of them very tragically passed away within a month after going to his honor flight. So you never know what the circumstances might be. I can just see them coming into the picture over that away, but they are making a lot of sounds. There are still a few people in the city of Plattsburgh who complain and say, "What is all that noise?" But it's been happening often enough that most people know what's going on here. If you want to see for yourself, next honor flight, as we're recording this, is the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, and then there'll be another one in the first weekend in October. So 2 honor flights in each of those dates. So feel free. Saw a question on Facebook yesterday: can the general public come and
and watch these honor flights, certainly you can. You're welcome to be here to show respect for the veterans. So we don't usually have a lot to say while the sirens are going by, but feel free to count the motorcycles. police cars generally have a veteran riding with them. That bus is also full of veterans. Well, that looks to be the last of the official escort. The rest are private vehicles, people that are coming along with them. We'll try to slowly turn our camera here toward the parking lot that was vacant 5 minutes ago, or nearly vacant. And you can see it is filled in and is filling in. Finding a place for everyone, always a bit of a challenge.
15 minutes.
It's always difficult to find somebody who has nothing to do on these mornings, but I know this guy is never doing a thing here. He's just hanging around.
No, I just hang out, wait for somebody to tell me what to do.
Well, Barry Finnegan, what is it, 73, 74?
71.
So 71.
70 and 71.
70 and 71.
It's
okay.
Unbelievable that we're at that number. Every time I say it, I just know, no way. We're still working on 10, right?
Yeah, right.
But no, it went by quick. This flight, we've actually got a guy. We took his father back on flight number 7. He was a World War II vet that went, and the son went as a guardian. And now here we are at flight 71, and he's going as the Vietnam vet. And it's just, time is going quick. You know, it's transitioning so fast. It's here we are in the heart of Vietnam, and trying to get as many down there as we can, because
those guys are not getting any younger, you know.
No, and we got to tell them that. You know, they keep saying, "Oh, we'll wait till all the old guys go," and we look at them and go, "I got some bad news for you. You are the old guy."
Congratulations, you've made it to being an old guy.
Yeah. No, we got a lot of them waiting to go, so we're going to keep pushing this and doing double flights as long as we have to.
You've had some good funds coming in the last couple of weeks.
It was an unbelievable week. In 1 week, we had the Beatmantown school kids did their run, and then we had a bunch of guys from the Legion up there with the auxiliary and the Sons and the regular Legion itself and the Riders, and then Brent from the Grass Hole challenged them to match what he was doing, and they ended up raising more than $20,000. It's, you know, I almost look at it and I'm going, oh boy, we got a lot of money coming in, but you think we're going to spend $75,000 today, just today, and we do that 4 times a year. So as much as it seems like there's a lot of fundraisers going on for Honor Flight, it's one of those things that if that doesn't happen, then you know, I'd hate to see this thing ever slow down, even much less come to an end.
Yeah, the last thing you'd want is to have 50 people on that list and tell them sorry.
Yeah, we don't have the funding to send you, and the heartwarming part is I know the people in North Country would never allow that to happen. So if we put out a major alert that we're running low and we're getting in trouble, then we could possibly. I think some people would step up and take care of that problem.
Now, you had a new airport last trip. How'd that work out?
It worked out great. Yeah. It's Dulles is a big metropolis airport, and we had times where our buses were waiting over an hour just to get into the airport. This guy, he meets us at the gate, the manager, and opens the gate, and we drive the buses. They were 10 feet from the airplane. They get off the airplane, step on the buses.
Oh, wow.
And when they come back, they get off the bus and step 10 feet onto the plane.
Oh, wow.
It's just an incredible setup. No waiting at the gate.
And it's less expensive than the previous one.
We're saving $5,000 for a flight. Dulles charges $5,000 per plane to land at their airport, and these people charge nothing. So that's $40,000 a year that we can't afford not to take advantage of.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes longer, but between the time at the gate to get into Dulles and there's no difference in the road. You end up on the same road. So no, we're very tickled pink with that.
Okay, so you got how many going today?
We got 29 actually
29.
going. No, I'm sorry, 28.
28.
Unfortunately, we had one guy fall ill, and he had to go home last night, and he won't be going today, but we'll get him in September. Hopefully he'll be feeling better.
Okay, so that was somebody who was doubling as a guardian and
no, that was a veteran.
To get a 29, usually it's an even number.
That's what we had. One situation where we had a veteran and his brother was the guardian, and they were both one's a younger Vietnam veteran, and the other guy was a 30-year Army veteran that was going as his guardian. We said, hey, we're going to honor both of you because
So
very distinguished careers.
Keeps you at 28 then.
Yep. So, yeah, good day. We got the weathers with us. Everything's going well, and we're very happy the way things are going.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Let me turn this camera here toward the tent here. I mentioned it earlier when I was recording here that I saw on Facebook yesterday somebody saying, can anybody just show up at this send-off?
I saw that question. And thankfully a whole bunch of people answered it and said, yeah, that's what it's for. Everybody come on out.
Come on down.
The more the merrier. Yeah, we love to see as many people as possible. And
it's always a great turnout here.
Oh my gosh. It's just an atmosphere, eh? There's electricity, it goes through the air, and everybody's here for a purpose that is awesome. So we're very fortunate.
All right, so we won't hold you up any longer. I know you probably got one or two things you need to do.
I got a couple things I might have to do, so I'll get going. Thanks, Calvin. Appreciate you guys as always.
All right, take care. Barry Finnegan, the head guru here of all this, and I want to make sure to mention that it's been our honor to have covered every one of these honor flights thus far, and we hope we can continue to do that into the future. David Brown here, walking away from us. He's been at, if he hasn't been at every one, he's come pretty darn close. And of course, we see a lot of familiar faces every send-off. Some of the people who've been on it and some who haven't been on it show up because they know how important these send-offs are, and they show up and give their best wishes and a hearty pat in the back to all these veterans. And of course our friends, there's a couple of Legion posts that are represented here, but we got our friends from the Northern Tier, post 912, the Legion Auxiliary and Sons of the Legion are here every send-off for that flag raising. So another great turnout, and we're gonna shut the camera off and take it all in.
70 and 71, right?
70 and 71, yes. We're talking here with the State Senator Dan Steck. Dan, you've been to a few of these.
I've been to several. I'm impressed. It's a wonderful wonderful organization. Does a lot of good for our veterans. Absolutely.
Now, I know you've got a big area. Is there any other honor flights in your area?
This is the only one. There's one that the leather stocking, you start getting down to the Albany area, the Mohawk Valley, there's one down there, but this is the big one, certainly in this chunk of the state.
Yeah.
The only one in my district.
So people in the Glens Falls area, do they come here? Do they go to Albany?
I think they don't talk about it as much in Glens Falls as it's this is like a phenomenon here,
Yeah,
and everyone here is very familiar with it. It's not, the veteran circles may be down in Glens Falls, but the average citizen, it's not on their radar as much. I think some of the they tend to go not to this one. If they go on a flight, they go out of Albany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
an hour away that way.
Yeah, right. It's an extra half hour or so this way coming up here, and if and they probably feel like Albany, the big city, so
yeah, right. No, but I mean, I can't get over every early morning, no matter what the weather is. There's hundreds of people here. I mean, the community's really embraced this program. Financially, a lot of people made a lot of very generous donations to make these flights available, and it's really impressive, and it's a wonderful way to pay tribute to people that serve their country.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you making so many of these here.
I try. No, these
are that you're not here.
As a veteran, I got a special place in my heart for what these guys have done. These guys, they're old school, and especially the World War II and Korea vets. There's not a lot of them left,
No.
and you look at them and you think, oh, that's an old man. Oh, that guy was a tough guy back in the day,
right.
and he did his part.
Yeah, I did the math earlier. 1945, 18 years old. You're 99 years old right now.
we these guys, a lot of centurions. The ones that are left, they're pushing 100.
Yeah. All right, they're about to start here,
All
so
right.
we won't hold you up.
Good
Dan,
talking
good
to you.
see you.
Good seeing you. Thank you.
All right, take care. Senator Dan Steck, we're gonna leave our tripod here, and we're gonna go over this way so we can get a view of the flag presentation. We got a local news media here, and our veterans ready to raise that flag, and got the folks ready to go with the Star Spangled Banner, and got John Ryan here, so we know it's a big event. John covers all the big events, even some smaller events.
Thank God for Calvin, though. I follow him around.
Yeah, right. There they go. They start without any fanfare. Reveille. What are we going to do with the anthem here?
Good morning, North Country,
go.
and welcome to Honor Flight 70 and 71.
Barry?
Still can't believe we're at that number, so boy, the thanks go out to everybody to keep supporting this program and to make sure it continues. And, by the time these 28 vets come home today, we'll have flown 1,060 veterans to their memorials.
We're sticking the camera on the tripod.
Today's
So.
flights are being sponsored by Harmony Golf Course, and I'd like to send out a huge thank you for them doing their golf tournament every year, which is a huge success. Last year they raised $45,000 for the North Country Honor Flight.
Wow.
In the 3 years they've done the tournament, it's almost $100,000 that they've raised. So we're hoping to pass that this year. In fact, over at the booth where we're selling items, you can get signs in memory of or in honor of for a veteran for $100, and they'll be posted at the golf course. And you can also get those signs brought to you after the tournament. So right over at the table, if anybody'd like to contribute to that golf tournament, it's on July 11th. That would be awesome. I'd like to turn it over to our Master of Ceremonies, Jerica Manning. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us as we continue this incredible North Country Honor Flight season. This morning, we gather as a community united in gratitude, united in respect for the men and women who have served our nation, our North Country veterans. Today's mission marks Flights 50 and 51 of North Country Honor Flight, and we are so proud to continue this important tradition, honoring those who have sacrificed so much for our freedoms.
70 and 71.
As our nation celebrates America's 250th anniversary, it's especially meaningful to recognize the veterans whose service helped preserve the ideals and liberties that define our country. These are some of the men who made it possible for us to celebrate 250 years of the greatest nation on earth. This morning, we are honored to add 28 more veterans to the North Country Honor Flight family as they travel to Washington, D.C. to visit the memorials built in their honor. Thank you all for being here to support them, celebrate them, and give them the recognition that they so deeply deserve. Please rise and join the sound waves, Olivia, Addison, Emelina, and Ella, in the singing of our national anthem. Please remain standing as Bruce McCormick from Harmony Golf Course leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Jerica. And I'd like everyone to follow along and say the pledge with myself. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We would now like to take a moment to thank everyone joining us this morning, including our past North Country Honor Flight veterans, their families, elected officials, dignitaries, volunteers, and supporters from across our community. Thank you for your continued support of our veterans and of the North Country Honor Flight mission. And now, please welcome Morrisonville Elementary Choir performing their original song, Red, White, and Blue.
So they're providing the sound system. It gets here before sunrise. Got a handful of people who do that. Oh, it's the youngsters there. Last month we had some taller kids, so probably veterans of the elementary. Now we got some actually elementary kids singing this. It's a song written. So again, a song written
A terrific job, as always. Thank you.
by the then students,
Next, I would like
along
to
with Roy
invite
Hurd.
Gary Liberty forward to pay tribute to the honor flight veterans that we have lost since our last flight.
This is always a somber moment, and it's only been a month since our last honor flight.
Good morning. Unfortunately, just since our last flight, we've lost 5 of our veterans. From Flight 6, Joseph DeMarco. From Flight 42, Francis Spindley, a World War II veteran at the age of 103. Flight 48, Mark Davey. From Flight 52, Theodore Jeanette. And from Flight 58, Richard Jondrell. We have to say goodbye and Godspeed to 5 our veterans. Let us remember them at this time. We will have a gun salute and taps.
And Gloria Salamander will play the taps.
May they rest in peace. God rest their soul. Thank you.
Please welcome country music singer Larry Hebert with God Bless the USA.
Everybody, thank you all for coming out this morning to honor our veterans. Hard to believe, 250 years of freedom. That doesn't happen by accident. That happened because of dedication, commitment, sacrifices, that we are all standing here enjoying the freedom that we have today. And the flag stands for freedom. If tomorrow all the things were done, worked for all my life, and I had to start again, just my children and my wife, thank my lucky stars to be living here today, where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died and gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Help me out here. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, or New York to LA. There is pride in every American heart. It's time we stand and say, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'm glad we stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, gave that right to me. And I'm glad we stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you, Larry.
If you're watching
It is
on
now my privilege
cable
to
TV,
welcome my friend Mike Farrell, who will lead us in our closing prayer, followed by the veteran biographies, bringing to life the courage, sacrifice, and service that reflect the very best of our nation.
again, if you're watching on cable TV, because of copyright issues, we don't show that music, but you can find it on our YouTube channel.
Good morning. A republic, if you can keep it, was Benjamin Franklin's response to Elizabeth Powell's question, well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy? In George Washington's address to Congress in January 8, 1790, he exclaimed, "To prepare for war is one of the most effectual means of preserving peace." Today we honor 28 of America's heroes who committed days of their youth to prepare for war and to defend our republic. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, once again we come before your throne to thank you for this day. We boldly ask that you guide and protect the travels of flights 70 and 71 to and from D.C. Forge a bond of camaraderie and friendship with each of these veterans as they spend this day together. May they know that this is a day from you, and each of us gathered here today is grateful for their service. And Father, a special prayer for Peter Beckett, who is ailing at this point, and we ask your healing upon him. And we pray this in the name of your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. C. Edward Bombard, Jr., United States Army, 1960 to 1963, Cold War. After basic and clerk typist training at Fort Dix, Ed trained at Fort Eustis, Virginia as a transportation movement specialist, coordinating the movement of military vehicles. He was later deployed to North Africa with the Third Army, serving in a small unit that oversaw port operations for the Libyan government. Although the unit included 10 officers, Ed recalls that the enlisted men handled most of the day-to-day work. At just 20 years old, Ed earned a rapid promotion to E5 after stepping in as Chief of Operations during another soldier's medical leave. During his 25 months of service, he valued both the responsibility and opportunity to travel aboard C-130 flights to France, Germany, and England. Looking back, Ed said he would enlist again without hesitation, calling military service a rewarding experience that taught him responsibility and maturity at a young age. C. Edward Bombard, Jr. Richard Brasseau, United States Navy, 1966 to 1970, Vietnam. Richard joined the United States Navy through the delayed enlistment program while working construction in Vermont. Service ran in his family. His father served in World War II, and his brother was also in the Navy. He trained at Pensacola, Florida, where he became a plane captain, responsible for inspecting propeller aircraft and ensuring they were ready for flight. Later, in Oceana and Virginia Beach, he worked on the F-4 Phantom jets, maintaining those same high standards. Richard spent 3 months aboard the USS Independence, including a stop in London, where he took part in performances held for the Queen. He later completed a 9-month European cruise, spending 40 days at sea before seeing land. During carrier war games, lights went dark as opposing aircraft searched for them. If found, 100-pound bags of flour hitting the deck meant they'd been hit. Richard valued his Navy service and the opportunity to see the world. Richard Brasseau. David Burrell, United States Marine Corps, 1967 to 1972, Vietnam. After completing infantry training in Parris Island and Camp Lejeune, David trained in Texas as a reciprocating aircraft mechanic and later in California as a crew chief, responsible for his own CH-34 helicopter and crew. It was my aircraft, he recalls. Following air survival training in Okinawa, he deployed to Vietnam, arriving briefly in Da Nang before serving in Don Ha along the Quy Viet River in Quang Tri Province and aboard the USS Princeton. Part of the Ugly Angels, David flew resupply and recovery missions, including operations to Hue during the siege. He found the work deeply meaningful, often helping evacuate wounded soldiers from combat zones. In 1967, while serving with Marine Helicopter Squadron 364, he received the Air Medal for heroism. He still reflects on the Man in the Door poem written by a fellow crew chief that captured the intensity of those missions. After returning home, David re-enlisted. "I do it all again in a heartbeat," he says, I just did my job, yet the impact of service remains with him every day still. David Burrell. James Canfield, United States Navy, 1970 to 1972, Vietnam. After earning an English degree from the University of Michigan and a medical degree from the University of Pittsburgh, Jim completed pediatric training at the UVM before entering military service. He trained as a Navy officer in Coronado, California, preparing for deployment to Vietnam. Jim served as a medical officer aboard the USS Benoit with a river patrol unit, working alongside 5 Navy corpsmen to treat wounded soldiers under intense conditions. Constantly moving, often staying in one location less than a day, the team triaged patients, stabilized the wounded for evacuation, were treated on board before returning them to duty. His experiences left a lasting impact, and Jim continues to manage PTSD. Sometimes, he notes, was common among medical personnel in Vietnam. After returning home, he completed his pediatrics residency and spent 21 years specializing in neonatal intensive care. Reflecting on his service, Jim said he would serve again with thoughtful deliberation. James Canfield. Harold Carlson, United States Marine Corps, 1963 to 1966, Vietnam. Harold and his lifelong friend, fellow Marine Alan Lacey, have shared similar paths since they were 5 years old and classmates in Westport. At 17, Harold left his high school, traveled to Plattsburgh, and enlisted into the United States Marine Corps. After Parris Island and advanced infantry training at Camp Geiger, he was assigned to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. His early service included 3 months abroad aboard the USS Chilton in the Caribbean, followed by a 6-month Mediterranean deployment. Harold was later sent to Vietnam, where he spent 13 months with the 3rd Marine Division, beginning on Mountain 225. He often says he was fortunate to be reassigned to the Heavy 81 Mortar Unit at headquarters after other mortar Marines were moved into the front combat units carrying lighter weapons. The reassignment kept him from the front lines. From Da Nang, Harold traveled to Okinawa and eventually home for discharge. Along the way, he earned his GED, and later, Westport Central School awarded him his high school diploma, an achievement he remains deeply proud of. Harold Carlson. James Davis, United States Army, 1964 to 1966, Vietnam. Jim was drafted into the United States Army. His uncles served in World War II in the U.S. Army and the U.S. Navy. Jim was radio relay carrier operator responsible for setting up, operating, and maintaining multi-channel tactical communications. He set up 196 channels of teletype to distribute messages. Jim's first assignment was in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, and from there he went to Virginia and then overseas. He had 100 days left. He was one of 2,500 soldiers shipped to Vietnam by boat that was 350 feet long, stacked 4 high like a pack of sardines. Jim spent 70 days in Vietnam. Before he left Vietnam, his replacement was killed in country in an accidental shooting. Jim would serve his country again and still has his Vietnam Service Medal and Good Conduct Medal. He says he just didn't get caught. James Davis. Elmer Durant, United States Coast Guard, 1965 to 1971, Vietnam. Elmer initially tried to join the Marines, but with no recruiter available, he enlisted into the Coast Guard through the buddy system, following his father's service in the Coast Guard during World War II. He served as a seaman maintaining aids to navigation systems, performing damage control and firefighting, small boat operations, and attended ammunition and weapons school in Parris Island, South Carolina. He was assigned to USCGC Woodrush, a storied 180-foot seagoing Iris-class buoy tending in the United States Coast Guard, known for its ice-breaking and search and rescue missions. Elmer's brother Gary was drafted into the United States Army while Elmer was serving in Vietnam. Elmer refused to sign paperwork allowing him to deploy there, and Gary was sent to Korea instead. He received 2 Bronze Stars and a Coast Guard Commendation Medal for saving lives during fire caused when soybean barge and a jet fuel barge collided. He becomes emotional, reflecting that the most meaningful outcome of his service is that he and his brother both survived and made it home together, alive safely. Elmer Durant. Gary Durant, United States Army, 1967 to 1969, Vietnam. Gary was one of 7 men from Malone, New York, drafted into the United States Army, and at Fort Dix he qualified as a sharpshooter and expert, then graduated first in his class at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Earning Soldier of the Month, his commander urged him to attend drill sergeant school, but Gary declined. Doing so meant a 6-year commitment and immediate deployment to Vietnam. Instead, he served in South Korea with artillery, supervising 35 Korean workers and 1 U.S. specialist. During that period, hundreds of barrels of Agent Orange and other herbicides were transported there, exposure that would trigger health issues for Gary decades later. Nearly 50 years after his service, about 5 years ago, he was stunned to receive the Combat Infantry Badge in the mail, along with a letter acknowledging his contributions. After discharge, Gary headed straight to Memphis to reunite with his brother, Elmer, who had just 2 days left in service. The Durant brothers, born 1 year and 22 days apart, now share another honor, flying together on honor flight. It is a tribute to their service, their brotherhood, and the long arc of recognition that finally reached them. Gary Durant. Alan Lacey, United States Marine Corps, 1963 to 1966, Vietnam. Alan's lifelong friend, Harold Carlson, convinced him to travel to Plattsburgh to enlist in the Marines. Alan had planned to stay in school and had no interest in military service, but before the trip ended, both young men enlisted. They soon headed to Parris Island, Fort Geiger, for infantry training, and Camp Lejeune. Alan also served aboard the USS Chilson during a Mediterranean deployment. Later, Alan spent 6 months at Guantanamo Bay, providing base security, walking fence lines, standing tower watch, and monitoring Cuban activity. While there, he learned of President Kennedy's assassination from a Cuban soldier whispering through a fence. Scheduled for Vietnam, after returning to Camp Lejeune, Alan instead remained stateside after a hernia required treatment. He finished his service at the Brooklyn Naval Shipyard break. Like Harold, he earned his GED in the Marines and later received his diploma from Westport Central School. Alan says he was glad to serve. He learned a lot about life. Alan Lacey. Robert LeClaire, United States Army, 1962 to 1967, Vietnam. At the age of 23, Robert was married and working at General Motors in Messina when he was drafted. Robert trained as a medic and went to Munich, Germany for 18 months to provide field medical care, administering vaccinations, prescribing medications, removing stitches, and other medical needs. He also got to drive an ambulance a lot and deliver blood. While in Munich, Germany, his wife was there for 15 months and his daughter was also born there. He didn't have rank, so he had to pay for everything. He and his family lived in a home at a German colony right outside of Germany. Robert said that he was upset at first due to being drafted, but after a while, it didn't bother him. He got his job back at General Motors and said it was a good experience. He got to see and travel a lot, and the German people were nice. Robert Leclerc. Richard Onifer, United States Army, 1970 to 1971, Vietnam. After college, Richard enlisted in the Army and completed basic training at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, followed by mortar training at Fort Polk in Louisiana, preparing for deployment to Vietnam. Once overseas, however, mortar specialists were no longer needed, and he was reassigned as a radio operator. Richard first served with his company commander before moving to battalion headquarters near the DMZ, where he spent much of his time on patrol under constant pressure from the Viet Cong. Though often close to danger, his role kept him somewhat removed from direct combat. During his service, he was named Soldier of the Month, an achievement he still values today. Despite the intensity, he recalls a brief week of rest and recuperation in Hong Kong, as well as a break, even though he missed the Bob Hope show. After a year in Vietnam, Richard returned to Fort Hood, Texas, and was discharged shortly after. He considers himself fortunate to have avoided frontline fighting, though the constant threat of booby traps and hidden explosives was never far from mind. Looking back, he said it rained a lot in Vietnam, and it was cold enough to even see your breath. He reflects simply, "I'm glad I had the chance to serve. I learned a lot." Richard Onifer. Paul Perry, United States Army, 1968 to 1979, Vietnam. Since Paul was between 10 and 11 years old, he wanted to go into the service. His father was a retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Army. Paul enlisted in the United States Army and went to Vietnam. While in Vietnam, he received a draft notice to an APO box. You'll have to explain that later. Paul was in the Army Security Agency spying on spies. He would listen to their communications, and if not appropriate, he would get the proper chain of command. Uncle Sam wanted Paul to go to Asmara, Ethiopia, but he said no and took an early out. He re-enlisted for Ranger School and went back to Vietnam, where he changed to Airborne School. He ended up becoming Vessel Master, which is being in charge of ships for the United States Army. Paul had the most fun in Vietnam. One time while going into Viet River, where two ships were taking too much fire, Paul and his crew in Vessel went in and got the Marines off the beach. They weren't going to leave anyone behind. Paul remembers quite vividly he spent 2 years, 8 months, and 24 days in country of Vietnam. Paul Perry. Robert Woodward, United States Navy, 1960 to 1964, Vietnam. Bob's Navy career began at Great Lakes, Illinois, followed by guided missile maintenance training in Dam Neck, Virginia. He then traveled to Philadelphia to join his newly commissioned ship, the USS Berkeley, DDG-15, before reporting to Newport, Rhode Island. As a new destroyer, the Berkeley embarked on a public relations tour through Puerto Rico, the Panama Canal, Mexico, and California, later demonstrating its capabilities for President Kennedy off Portland, Oregon. The voyage continued to Hawaii and Thailand before becoming active duty near the Gulf of Tonkin during the Vietnam conflict. Bob recalls the journey lasting nearly a year. an unforgettable adventure for an 18-year-old seeing the world for the first time. The tour took him to Subic Bay, the Philippines, and Hong Kong before he flew home from Okinawa. Discharged in San Francisco, Bob returned to Vermont. He says he would do it all again. Aside from the years spent with his wife, these were the best years of his life. Robert Woodward. That concludes the bios for Flight 70. The Vietnam Veteran Memorial consists of 140 granite panels honoring 58,281 individual service members. At this time, we will listen to Larry Ebert as he sings More Than a Name on a Wall. Larry.
Good morning. There's 58,000 names on the Vietnam Wall. So I'm sure somebody here has somebody on the wall, knows somebody that has somebody on the wall, or acquaintances. So if you ever, should you ever visit Washington, D.C., you should see the wall, and you should touch it. And it in return will touch you. This next song is for all those names that are there, and for all those who risk having their names on the wall. Saw her from a distance as she walked up to the wall. In her hands she held some flowers as the tears began to fall. And she took out pen and paper as to trace her memory. And she looked up to heaven, and the words she said were these. She said, Lord, my boy was special, and he meant so much to me. And oh, I'd love to see him just one more time, you see. All I have are the memories and the moments to recall. So Lord, could you tell him he's more than a name on the wall? Said he really missed the family, being home on Christmas Day. And he died for God and country in a place so far away. I remember just a little boy playing war since he was 3. But Lord, this time I know he's not coming home to me. She said, Lord, my boy was special, and he meant so much to me. And oh, I'd love to see him, but I know it just can't be. So I thank you for the memories and the moments to recall. But Lord, could you tell him he's more than a name on the wall? Lord, could you tell him he's more than a name on the wall? Thank you for your service.
And again, if you're watching this on your cable,
Thank you, Larry.
that song will not be on, but go to our
58,000 families can associate with that song.
hometown cable YouTube channel and
Now on to Flight
watch it.
71.
It's worth watching.
John Bingham. United States Navy, 1961 to 1969, Vietnam. John felt the duty to serve, following the example of 2 uncles, one an admiral and the other a physician who served in Korea. Originally hoping to become a submariner, he was unable to pass the pressure test required for submarine training. Instead, he attended Officer Candidate School in Newport, Rhode Island. Later, spending a year in graduate studies focused on defense intelligence and Arabic and preparing for a diplomatic assignment. For 2 years, John served aboard the ocean-going Minesweeper, a non-magnetic warship designed to locate and destroy naval mines in deep waters. He described it as a wooden ship with iron men, where every piece of iron had to be carefully tracked. His final assignment in 1968 involved intelligence operations in the Mediterranean, monitoring Soviet naval activity. He also carried the disappointment of being unable to reach the USS Pueblo before its capture. Awarded the Naval Commendation Medal, John reflects that warfare is an awful and demands immense sacrifice. Asked if he would serve again, his simple answer, yes, but I would do it better. John Bingham. Bernard Gwynn, United States Navy, 1971 to 1977, Vietnam. Bernie's father was in the United States Navy, one uncle was in the United States Marine Corps, and 2 uncles were in the United States Army. In April of 1971, Bernie was the early enlisted program. For the first 2 years of his marriage, he was gone 15 out of 24 months. Bernie was a hull technician, ship fitter, and damage control man, being responsible for the watertight integrity of the ship. In 1972, Bernie was assigned to the USS Edward McDonald and was one of 5 hull technicians on the ship. He was on that ship for 3 years and was only sick once, as he knew what not to eat. Bernie wanted to retire from the military, so after 2 years of inactive service for the Navy, he joined the Army. In Fort Drum, Watertown, he was a heavy vehicle operator, drove a deuce and a half, and got supplies and rations for the field. One of Bernie's best memories was when he crossed the Arctic Ocean and he got his quote-unquote blue nose. During that United States Navy Arctic cruise, he got to go on a Dutch ship and eat their food and drink their beer. Bernie Gwynn. Bruce Hale, United States Army, 1966 to 1968, Vietnam. Bruce's military service began with ROTC at RPI, followed by basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. After a 2-year deferment for graduate school, his first assignment was the Pentagon, where he briefed the USA Staff Communications team each morning on secure communication channels cleared for military messaging. He was then deployed to Saigon and Vung Tau, commanding a signal unit roughly the size of a platoon that transmitted radio frequency messages worldwide. Soon afterward, he was tasked with establishing a similar unit in Kung Ta. Given neither personnel nor equipment, he rebuilt the unit from scratch, relying heavily on a resourceful first sergeant and a World War II veteran. During the first Tet Offensive, Viet Cong forces repeatedly attacked his position. While leading his men on the front line, Bruce was wounded in the neck by shrapnel. Surgeons later removed the fragment, and he was awarded the Purple Heart. Discharged shortly after, Bruce simply reflects, "I was a soldier, and that was my job." Bruce Hale. Daniel Jackson, United States Air Force, 1978 to 1971, Vietnam. Daniel was 17 when he signed up and left home at 18. One half brother was in the United States Marine Corps and the other was in the United States Navy. Daniel was a power production specialist, otherwise known as a civil engineer, for the first year and a half. They offered to let him stay at Travis Air Force Base, but he didn't want to. So he went to Takli Royal Thai Air Force Base in Southeast Asia as part of the Tet Offensive and witnessed the replacement of the FB-111 bombers to the B-52s. This was supposed to be a top secret, but it ended up being a local newspaper and had a parade and float showcasing it. Daniel found out he had no orders to come back from Thailand and had to stay 20 days until they were received. He says it was a long 20 days of waiting. Daniel Jackson. Bruce Jarvis, United States Army, 1971 to 1973, Vietnam. Bruce received his draft notice while attending Clinton Community College. With the lottery number of 2, he knew his call to service was coming. During basic training, the kid from Keysville earned a squad leader position overseeing 15 soldiers. After training as a chaparral crewman on an early air defense missile system, Bruce was assigned to the 2nd Infantry Division in South Korea. His typing skills led to a reassignment as a clerk, where he spent 14 months toward supporting Army operations. He later worked in the General's office, assisting with pre-inspector general audits. Bruce traveled throughout Korea, enjoyed Seoul and the countryside, and participated in field exercises near the DMZ, where the Northern Korean propaganda was often discovered after nighttime drops. One memorable event occurred on Easter Sunday, 1972, when he underwent an emergency appendectomy at a MASH unit in Korea, with his doctor looking exactly like Dr. Winchester from the TV series. Returning home, Bruce completed his service with the United States Army Reserve Medical Unit in Plattsburgh, no longer just a kid from Keysville, but a proud soldier. Bruce Jarvis. Kenneth LaFave, United States Navy, 1960 to 1964, Vietnam. Ken graduated high school at 16 and wanted to become a state trooper. Since he was too young, he enlisted in the United States Navy with a friend from Cherubusco, New York. They went their separate ways after joining and didn't see each other until both had completed their service. Ken first attended signalman school, where sailors communicated with flashing light signals. He could send the signals, but struggled to read them, so he failed the test. He returned to the fleet and became a gunner's mate. Assigned to the USS Hammerberg, Ken was part of the ship's kiddie cruise because of his age. The ship made 3 trips to South America each year. When his discharge date arrived, he was still 5 days from port, so the Navy paid him for those extra 5 days. Ken said he had the best of both worlds. He served his country and played basketball nearly everywhere the ship traveled. At the reunion 5 years ago, he reconnected with a former teammate from the ship's basketball team, Kenneth LaFave. Walter LaFave, United States Army, 1975 to 1978, Vietnam. Walter entered the delayed entry program and became the first member of his family to serve in the military. Arriving at boot camp in Fort Dix, he was greeted by a 4-foot corporal shouting at him and immediately wondered if enlisting had been the wildest thing he'd ever done. He spent about 6 months at Fort Bragg working on the motor pool as parts clerk before qualifying for parachute training. Determined to earn his wings, he attended jump school, a demanding 21-day course held Sunday to Sunday. Of the 400 soldiers who started, only 75 completed it.
While stationed at Fort Bragg, Walter watched massive airborne demonstrations involving 800 parachutists and 23 crisscrossing aircraft. During one jump, a friend missed the drop zone and landed in a tree. Walter eventually found him and they rejoined the group. Walter called the Army a tremendous learning experience and he would gladly do it again. Walter LaFave. Samuel Murata, United States Air Force, 1974 to 1994, Cold War in Vietnam. Without his parents knowing, Sam went to the United States Navy recruiter, but they didn't have a job he wanted, so he went to the United States Air Force recruiter, and they guaranteed his job as a firefighter. In 1975, he got married and was sent to Hawaii for 3 years. Says it was kind of a 3-year honeymoon. There were many bad fire calls and a major fuel spill. After Hawaii, he was sent to Texas, where there was an explosion in a fire station, losing 2 firefighters. 15 months later, he was sent to a remote assignment in Alaska. Sam was on the rescue crew where there was an aircraft crash with 24 people on board. They lost 6 that day. Sam was sent back to Plattsburgh, off to California, and then Alaska again, and he eventually came back to Plattsburgh Air Force Base and retired here. He had numerous TDYs, including 1 to Greece, which was his favorite. He enjoyed the travel and the friendships he made while in the Air Force. Sam is accompanied today by his best friend, Kevin LeBlanc, also a United States Air Force veteran, Samuel Murata. James Mazat, United States Navy, 1964 to 1967, Vietnam. Jim attended electronics school during basic training at Great Lakes before serving 3 years on active duty in the United States Navy, 3 years in the Navy Reserve, and 10 years in the Army Reserve. Assigned to the USS Richard E. Byrd, quote-unquote, Bird Dog, he helped screen carriers including the USS America, Saratoga, and Independence during North Atlantic and Mediterranean patrols. In 1967, Soviet submarines and torpedo boats shadowed the fleet as the Bird Dog maneuvered to protect the carriers. Then came word that the U.S. Liberty had been attacked. Believed at first to be a Soviet strike, the attack left 34 dead and 171 wounded. Bird Dog reached Liberty the next day. Sailors and corpsmen treated the injured, recovered the fallen, and helped escort the damaged ship to Malta. A month later, Jim's enlistment had ended. He left the only way he could, lifted by a helicopter into the sky, then flown off the carrier the next morning. Just like that, his war was over. James Mazat. Richard Pepin, United States Navy, 1952 to 1956, Korea. Richard wanted to join the Navy at 16, but they made him wait until he turned 17 in 1952. Richard's adventure started on the destroyer, the USS Conway, traveling to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, St. Thomas, and Puerto Rico. Later they would travel to Greenland, Iceland, then through the Strait of Gibraltar into the Mediterranean. The USS Conway brought him to Sicily, Sardinia, Pisa, Naples, and his favorite, Cannes, France, where he saw Marilyn Monroe. I guess there was a benefit to waiting till he was 17. After hitting an iceberg in Greenland on the way home, they headed to the dry dock at Brooklyn Naval Yard. Richard ended up in New Bedford, Massachusetts, where he would acquire a fake ID since he was only 20. Richard laughs about getting caught, but he lost 2 stripes, was busted from Seaman 3rd class to Seaman, and was also thrown in the brig. Richard says he would do it all over again. He wants his 2 stripes back. Richard Pepper. Richard Perez, United States Army Airborne, 1963 to 1965, Vietnam. Dick's cousin told him that by enlisting he would serve 2 years instead of 4. 3 months before his 19th birthday, he entered military processing. Trained in light infantry, Dick learned to operate 82mm mortars, M14 rifles, and a Jeep-mounted 106mm recoilless rifle. After completing jump school, he received his assignment to Vietnam. Was not an option at the time, so he was sent to Panama Canal Zone, a region known for rugged mountains, dense jungle, and diverse population. Stationed primarily at Fort Covey beside Howard Air Force Base, he completed numerous parachute jumps and field exercises. Dick vividly recalls night guard duty, listening to screeching rhesus monkeys and spotting anteaters nearby. Training often involved 5-day treks from Pacific to the Atlantic, with soldiers hiking deep into the jungle and constructing small bamboo shelters. Looking back, Dick considers his 2 years of service a rewarding adventure. He remains especially grateful for the GI Bill, which helped him attend college, and for discovering a lifelong passion for skydiving. Richard Perez. Michael Riel, United States Army, 1968 to 1973, Vietnam. Michael's father served in the Army during the Korean War, inspiring Michael to enlist shortly after high school, following a friend who had joined before him. When he arrived at Fort Dix for basic training, he remembers seeing a sign and thinking, "What the hell did you just do?" He attended military police school and was stationed in Germany guarding a missile battery. During his service, he re-enlisted and attended computer repair school at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, where he also got married. Michael spent his final 2 years in Germany at a communication switching station, relaying messages between countries while holding top secret clearance. After his discharge, he was told, "Don't wear your uniform home," like so many. Michael values his friendship, structure, and life lessons he gained through the military service. Perhaps one reason he and his wife Sandra have now been married for 55 years. Michael Riel. Rainy Rock, United States Army, 1976 to 1979. Cold War. Rainey comes from a family of veterans. All his brothers served in different branches, and his uncle was a United States Marine frogman. His first assignment was at Fort Ord, attached to the 7th Infantry Division Military Police, where he patrolled grounds. His first call was a crib death, a memory that stayed with him. In 1978, he joined Operation Brave Shield with the Marines at 29 Palms, taking part in black fire exercises and witnessing roadrunners running over 26 miles per hour as his sergeant attempted to shoot them. That's a hard target. At Fort Lee, watching aircraft and fishing for flounder, he was stung by a jellyfish requiring IV treatment after a urine remedy briefly helped. Between 1977 and 1978, he lived with his Vietnam brother, Bob, who is here today as Rainey's guardian. Bob didn't recall it due to severe trauma. Rainey loved the service and isn't sure why he left. Rainy Rock. Robert Rock, United States Army, 1971 to 1979, Vietnam. Bob graduated from Beacontown Central School in June 1971 and entered the United States Army the following month. After completing training, he was deployed to Vietnam in November 1971 at the age of 19, serving as an infantryman, a grunt, with General Custer's famed 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry Air Mobility Air Mobile Division. While serving in Vietnam, he earned numerous honors, including the Bronze Star, Army Commendation Medal for Valor, Air Medal, and Combat Infantry Badge. Throughout his military career, Bob served in finance, military police, and public affairs assignment. He completed 8 years of active duty, traveling extensively through the Pacific region of Europe. He later joined the Army Reserve and retired with 22 years of service. Bob lived in Hawaii for 38 years, where he met his wife Jane, who was from Singapore. The military paid for 2 college degrees, helped purchase homes, and most important, he would not be sitting here today if it wasn't for his military service. Robert Rock. Alan Rule, United States Navy, 1968 to 1970, Vietnam. 3 of Alan's brothers joined the Marines, but Alan had to be different. He enlisted in the Navy through a buddy program. He quickly learned that once you signed up, you belonged to them. Al spent his entire 2-year enlistment in Key West. His captain, a laid-back redhead with a matching beard, allowed sailors to grow their hair to their shoulder length if they first grew facial hair. At one point, the captain joked that he wasn't getting out unless he went AWOL. Al worked with explosives and weapons aboard a 46-foot sounding boat and occasionally enjoyed fishing trips with his buddies. The orders were simple. Any food and booze had to be gone before Monday. He later revealed that only the admiral and the captain knew they were also making booze runs for other officers. Al enjoyed the Navy. He made lifelong friends and brought home a discarded piece of mortar from Vietnam as a war souvenir. Alan Rule. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the bios for North Country Honor Flight heroes of Flight 70 and 71. Gentlemen, we all thank you for your service. We all thank you for our freedom. Carpe diem, Godspeed.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you to everyone who joined us for this morning's ceremony. In just a moment, our veterans and motorcade will make a lap around the oval before departing for the hangar. Let's line the route and give them an unforgettable North Country send-off. Following today's ceremony, breakfast will be served at Legion Post 1619, complimentary for all veterans. Then tonight at approximately 8:30, our veterans will return home. We'll gather back right here at the Oval for a welcome home ceremony, and we invite you all to join us. As this ceremony comes to an end, we return to our lives and our weekend. I ask each of you to carry something with you. When you see an American flag waving in the wind, remember who kept it flying. Remember the men and women whose stories you heard today, and the generations of veterans whose sacrifices made possible the blessings that we enjoy as Americans. Thank you for being here for today's Flight 70 and 71 North Country Honor Flight, and for helping us honor these incredible veterans in a way that they truly deserve. God bless America, and God bless our veterans.
we look through the distance, we can see that the leaders have reached the far side of the oval, and Judy Castine is at the end of the oval, and we'll be capturing them as they come through. So the last video you'll see will be Judy Castine on the far side of the oval, recording what we're seeing here. That's how our video will end. Another great send-off, another great turnout from the public. Again, the Saturday of Labor Day weekend is the next honor flights, 72 and 73, and then the final one will be the first Saturday in October. So we're gonna race over and pick up Judy's camera. And Judy has put my microphone into her camera. While these guys are racing around the oval, I walked the distance from the ETS office to here to grab the mic. So another great presentation here. Honor flight send-off of June 20th, 2026. Thanks for watching and supporting viewer-supported hometown cable.